What's up, you guys? Hope you guys are doing awesome. So today we're going to talk about a very important topic, which is how not to get scammed when new tokens release. So a new wave of subscribers, supporters came in that are more newer. So thank you for that. However, I wanted to help give you guys tips on how to handle these token launches, as these launches are where the big boys usually take advantage of the people who don't really understand how things work in crypto. So let's get into them. So before we get into it, just know that this is all speculation. Don't invest more than what you can lose. Assume that you will lose everything and you won't get rich quick. Especially with these new tokens launchings, these are extremely the riskiest of the risky stuff. All right, so let's get into it. So let's get into what do the majority of people do. So first, they hear about a certain token a few times from friends, Twitter, Facebook, TikToks, Instagram, or something, and then they hear it more and more, so they get FOMO, and they hear that the price goes up more and more, so they end up buying it. And because they waited so long and they didn't do their research properly, they end up buying near all-time highs or near the peak. Then the more savvy investors who bought way before the shilling events took place, they then sell to these new people, so they end up profiting off of them. So as these big players who have huge bags sell these, this creates a cascading effect. As the price drops, more people think, oh, this is the top, so they start selling more. So it creates like a negative feedback loop where things keep selling off more and more and more. So this is when you see in the channels, they're like FUD, fear of subsidy doubt, where people are like, oh, this is going to scam, it's going to zero, it's going to $1, stuff like that. So then the person who's new, they get mad that they got scammed, they buy into the FUD, then they sell at a huge loss, and then they think crypto's a scam. The process repeats with other coins, or they're like, okay, I'll give crypto another chance. Then they buy into the hype, they buy into the all-time high, they get dumped on. Same thing happens over and over, and that's how the majority of people think psychologically. So the question becomes, how do we win this game? How do we get in early or get in at the best spots to buy so that we can make profits just like the big boys? Okay, so before we get into that, let's learn how the game is actually played. Let me pull that real quick. So first, let's think about how the project's created, right? So a group of people, the developers and stuff, they create a project, they then pitch to bigger organizations, maybe institutions, funds, etc., with a lot of money, and then those people get into the coins super cheap. So for example, maybe they get into a certain coin for 20 cents, they buy 5 million of them, so they invest $1 million into the company initially. So the reason why they get into it so cheap is that there are so many risks with getting into a project early, right? Maybe the developers lose, or they just quit the project, something doesn't work out, a developer doesn't isn't passionate about the project anymore, random stuff like that. So they're able to get in early as they take in the most risk. Next off, these group of people, the developers, then take this $1 million. They use this capital to develop their product further. So for example, if they have a game design that they want to improve on, they improve upon that. They buy a website, and then they upgrade the website, they upgrade their characters and stuff like that. And during the meantime, while they increasingly improve their game, they pitch to more organizations to get more money. Then once they develop enough, they end up pitching to other organizations or private investors for slightly higher money, as they now have a more developed product. So other investors can see the potential more, so now they're willing to buy at a higher price. So for example, maybe a bunch of investors buy 10 million coins total for 40 cents each, compared to 20 cents earlier when there was more risk. So they continue the process, they develop the process over and over. They then maybe release a beta version, alpha version, which they then release these coins to the public, as they have a pretty good product now. So when it gets released, these previous investors, they can't sell everything, right? So they have these things called vesting periods, where they can only sell a fraction of their total investment. So let's say a big institution invests $1 million and they have a vesting period where 10% gets released right at a public listing. So they can only sell $100,000 worth of their coins, and then maybe they have a monthly vesting period of 10%. So for the next 9 months, 10% of their previous position gets unlocked, so they can sell 100,000 more each month. They don't have to, but they have the option to, right? So for example, maybe a public listing happens, the company with $1 million, they sell 10% of their position at 60 cents. So they initially got in at 20 cents. They made a 3x. Then now they have 90% left. So how can we take advantage of this? We can take advantage of this by buying certain points where these vesting periods open, right? So let's say, for example, 1 month later, private round investors can sell 10% more. Then due to their 10% selling, the price drops down 20%. You can then scoop up the dip right there. And then another tip to do is that these coins tend to follow the overall market, right? So liquidity tends to go from first Bitcoin to major caps like Ethereum to mid caps like the other coins, then smaller caps and NFTs, games like that. So if you notice Bitcoin goes up, and then you notice Ethereum goes up, and then you notice the other medium caps go up, then there's probably a good chance that your smaller NFT game coin will pump too. So you just get ready for that so that you can sell it. And also, flip side too, if Bitcoin and the other bigger coins pump up, this usually brings out liquidity from the crypto games back to those coins, so they also dump, which also creates a great buying opportunity also. Right, so let's get into a real life example that literally just happened 2 weeks ago with Binance. Right, so you see at public listing, it went up, went to a new all-time high. This is the worst time to buy. However, 95% of people do that. So if you're an early investor, that might be a great time to sell part of your position. And then here it goes for a month straight, and then a month unlocks their previous investors' vesting periods. It dumps even further. Then you have literally 5 days to buy the bigger dip right here. Since you can see here, it held its support around 0.15 pretty well, but then after 1 month when the vesting period unlocked, it created even more selling pressure, so it went lower, which creates the perfect time to buy. It shot up like crazy from hype. So usually when bigger players come in and they buy the dip, they try to shill the thing, which ends up making it go more, or the bigger investors that weren't able to sell earlier, they try to promote the game more, which causes it to shoot up more. Then you can even see literally 1 month later, it ends up dipping again from the vesting periods unlocking and other factors too, which creates another good opportunity. And then literally right now, 1 month later, it creates another great opportunity to buy. So you can literally see it happening in real time. And then once you see it go up like crazy, that's when you can start dollar cost averaging out. Same thing here, goes up crazy, start dollar cost averaging out. So the funny thing is that you see these big peaks to sell. When these happen, you're not going to want to sell. You're going to see in the chats that people are very euphoric. They're like, oh, I think it's going to 10x even more from here. When you start seeing those, that's exactly when you know when to sell. Flip side of that, when you notice these smaller periods when it's going to dip, you're going to see a lot of people think and say, oh, it's going to dip further. It's going to dip like crazy. It's going to dip to 0 cents. And then when you notice that there aren't that many news releases, that means that a lot of these whales are accumulating. They're buying the dip. So they're also releasing the opposite of that. They're releasing bad news too, which is pretty funny. And then they buy the dip and then they shield it again and then they make it pump up again. So if you notice that there's a lot of FUD and not many news, could be a great time to buy if the project is fundamentally great. Flip side of that, you start seeing a lot of euphoric news, like a coin just 10x's already. People are like, oh, it could 50x again from here. Maybe it could, but would you rather get a, say, 10x and then maybe wait for a dip after? Or would you possibly wait to get a 50x, but then it just dumps on you, then you lose money? Like, personally, I'd rather get the 10x. So, up to you, okay? So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope that was useful for the newer people, as that's an intro to how coin listings work. So just try to feel how the other players are acting, right? You got your big boys, the big investors, you got private investors, you got how the team feels, you have your other retail people, you have your liquidity providers. You aren't just trading against a chart, you're trading with real people. So try to think how people would think and just save important dates like vesting periods so that you can take advantage of them, okay? So thank you for watching. Feel free to leave a like, comment whatever tips you have for the newer people, other videos you want to see, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And here are other ways to support the channel, okay? If you want to donate that much, you get early access to the guide, you get paragraph summaries or other trading opportunities, email real time, like our 250% buy them on call 2 weeks ago, and then Monster Clan 400% call a few days ago, and the Defina, which is looking like a really good play right now. So if you want to email me for any business advertisements or covering any games, feel free to email me right there, or Twitter if you want any faster updates, and feel free to join my Discord in this link below. And if you want to support me by joining other brokers that I personally use, like Binance, Coinbase, Webull for stocks, and One Finance for long-term IRA, TradingView for charting, feel free to sign up with those. And most importantly, these videos are for entertainment purposes, as I'm not a licensed professional. The best investments are the ones where you have the greatest conviction in doing your own research. So the name of the game in crypto is to survive as long as possible. This means not using excessive leverage. This means limiting the amount of times your positions get liquidated. So that often means trading slower, trading on higher time frames so that you can survive and you can take advantage of this growing industry, which will boom in the next 5, 10, 20 years. So thank you guys for watching, and talk to y'all next time.